Did you see that Texas Republicans passed their gerrymandered maps, diluting black and brown votes and hoping that Republican Latinos help them win in 2026? What this new redistricting does is put a lot of Latinos that make up 40% of the population in Texas in areas surrounded by Republican voters. Even the new Latino district that Republicans are bragging about does not have the power they're saying it does. So in this new Latino district, it is filled with Latinos who cannot vote or do not vote. So this new Latino district doesn't add anything to the Latino voting power. Also, these gerrymandered maps have merged Democratic districts. This will cause for representatives like Al Green to have a tougher time regaining his seats and pin Democratic representatives against each other in the same district. This puts a lot of seats being held by black and brown Democratic leaders in jeopardy in 2026. And it dilutes the voting power of black and brown Democratic voters by putting them in Republican districts. And on top of all this, Republicans are hoping that even with everything they're doing against the Latino community, that Republican Latinos stick with them in 2026. Republicans are banking on Latinos for Trump to do the work for them and help them consolidate power even more by pushing Democrats out in 2026. They're doing all of this to take away the power of black and brown voters. This shows how powerful our vote is. If it wasn't for these sneaky tactics, Texas would have gone blue a long time ago. So specifically for Latinos for Trump, stop being a pawn in these Republicans' games. They already fooled you in 2024 and you see them rampaging through our communities. And now they're banking on you falling for their BS again and going out and voting for them in 2026. So this is the time to redeem yourself. I don't know if you know this, but even if you're a registered Republican, you don't have to vote Republican. You can realize the error of your ways and vote for someone who does not want you destroyed systemically. So even though this is happening in Texas, and who knows what's going to happen in the rest of the country, but it seems like it's still going to come down to people and elections. And I hope in 2026, people go out and vote against fascism.
Hello, my people. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to telling you about how Latino Trump in Texas are now frozen in fear and regret. Imagine, guys, this is shocked. This is unbelievable. They are finally realizing something very deep. No matter how much they support it, no matter how much they have voted, they will never be treated as equal. Oh no. And honestly, this is reason for all of us. Kindly, let's watch the clips, and guys, remember to watch the video till the end. I will be back in a while.
The Texas House passed a new set of gerrymandered redistricting maps, 88 to 52. Handing Republicans an artificial advantage in 5 Democratic-leaning districts. Democrats fled the state, breaking quorum in an attempt to block the bill. It was their Alamo, their last stand in defense of the people's right to vote. But the gavel still fell and the maps went through. Not governance, conquest. And this is where the hypocrisy cuts deepest. For a century, Texas sold itself as the line in the sand. Remember the Alamo. Remember Goliad. Remember the ranchers who stood against the heavy hand of Washington. This is supposed to be the state that spit in the eye of federal overreach, the state that bragged it could be its own country, the state that prided itself on independence and fire. But all of that was just theater, because when Trump wags his fingers, the mighty cowboys of Texas crawl to him like beggars. They've proved that the only thing bigger in Texas is the bullshit. And here's the question that should really haunt every Texan with a shred of pride left. How did the Don't Mess with Texas crowd become the most obedient lapdogs in America? How did the state that prided itself on standing tall become the state that kneels first and longest? Was all that talk about independence and honor just bullshit for the tourists? A carnival act for campaign ads? Because when the moment came to prove it, Texas Republicans folded like a paper sack. The Democrats who fled to break quorum may have been mocked, but history will remember them as the only ones in the room with the guts to fight. They tried to hold the line. They tried to honor the people who elected them. They tried to shout that Texas is not for sale. And though they lost, they still stood taller than the cowards who crawled. So yes, you can in fact mess with Texas. And the proof of that is that Texas Republicans are doing it for themselves, gleefully, shamelessly, and on command. They've sold the soul and legacy of Texas to a New York City con man who's never cared for the state and never will. And remember that, Texas. Remember it when you vote. Remember it when you see these puffed up men in their boots and their hats pretending to carry the soul of the place. Because they don't. They've already traded it away. They betrayed Texas. They are not cowboys. They are not rebels. They are Trump's little boys. All hat, no cattle. Governable cowards who sold Texas for a wink from a slick city boy that's living off of daddy's money. And that is a shame they should never be allowed to outlive. And when the dust settles, remember this too. Individual liberty was supposed to be the cornerstone of Texas. That was the creed carved into the stone, the anthem sung from every porch and pasture. And it wasn't Greg Abbott who carried that torch. It wasn't the hollow speaker, Dustin Burrows, or the Republican bootlickers drawing lines in secret. It was the Democrats who walked out. The ones who broke quorum, who gave the state the stiff backbones it was promised. That is the most Texas thing I've ever seen. Not kneeling, not cowering, not begging for scraps from a gilded table, but standing tall in the face of power and saying no. A middle finger to the establishment and the goddamn governor. That's the cowboy shit right there. That's the spirit that built the place. That's the defiance Texas pretends to own but is long since forgotten. So if you want badasses, don't look at Greg Abbott. Don't look at his yes men in boots and cheap suits. Look at Ann Johnson and Nicole Collier and James Tallarico and John Busey. Men and women who stood their ground. They are the legacy, plain and simple. They're the ones worthy of the cowboy myth because they didn't bow. They didn't crawl, and they didn't sell. Defiance till death.
To the Latinos that voted for him, you will never, and I repeat, never be white. You will never be accepted as one of them, and you certainly are not exempt from the racism that is this racist ass regime. When that lady put in her post, alligators' lives matter, and she mentioned a number, that number being 65 million. Do you know how many Latinos are in the United States? Approximately 65 million, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Approximately 60 plus million people. So guess what? They weren't just talking about the illegal immigrants, because data actually says that there are 10 to about 12 illegal, undocumented folks in the United States. They're talking about you. They're talking about people like us, because we are not exempt from the racism that is rooted in what these people believe in, and frankly, the foundation of this country that was built on the stealing of land from indigenous people by immigrants that came here from Europe. So when you think that you are better than an immigrant because your family came here the right way, remember that this land was actually stolen from day one. So when you think that you are better because you're second generation or third generation because you've been an American for a longer amount of time, I hope that you never have to experience a time where you have to flee a country for your own safety or that of your family. So when you think that you are somehow not going to be affected by any of this, when you think that you don't have to care, what happens if you are next? What happens if it's someone that you personally know? And I know already, because we've seen it. We've seen the clips of people that supported him, diehard supporters that are now crying on the news because their family members are getting deported and they thought that they would never be impacted. You see, in this country, so many people lack empathy. They are unwilling or somehow unable to think beyond themselves, and then we run into these situations. Wake up! The proximity to whiteness isn't serving you, and it's not serving the community. You have to recognize what is happening, because ultimately, they're not just going after criminals. And all of this is connected to so many things that impact our community and frankly are holding us back, like anti-blackness and colorism and internalized racism. And if you think that these are woke words, look them up and you will realize what exists, what has existed in our community for a very long time. And I say all of this because there are so many people that have fallen to the false prophets of the world, and I need us as a community to come together and wake up. So if you're wanting more of this type of content, follow for more, because we need to have this conversation.
Y'all, Texas Republicans are at it again, suppressing the Black and Latino political power here in Texas. Tarrant County commissioners voted to cut 100 polling sites in Tarrant County, one of the largest counties here in Texas. Tarrant County Judge Tim O'Hare defended this decision, saying he's expecting reduced voter turnout since it's not a presidential election. But we know it's because Texas Republicans are worried about the midterm elections coming in 2026. Months before redistricting became a state issue, Tarrant County commissioners voted to redistrict Tarrant County to be more Republican friendly. Again, this is ahead of midterm elections coming up in 2026. Tarrant County is home to Fort Worth, Texas, one of the most diverse cities in the state and the third largest Black population in Texas. Texas Republicans know that their policies aren't popular, so they're cheating to win, they're cutting maps in their favor, and they're suppressing the votes of communities of color.
Anyways, guys, did you know that after watching the scripts, it's very clear, and a lot of Latinos who put their trust in Trump are now feeling regret. Oh no, this is very shocked. At first, they thought supporting him would bring them closer to acceptance, maybe closer to power, maybe closer to being seen as true Americans. But now they see the truth. They realize no matter how much they cheer, no matter how many rallies they attend, they are still being treated as outsiders. Oh no, this is very shocked. And that's the sad reality, because when people see you as different, their treatment does not change because of your vote. Oh no, this is very shocking. This is very unbelievable. Some of the scripts show real fear, families worried, and people looking around asking, did we make the right choice? Very good question. Did we vote against ourselves? Another interesting question. And honestly, this is what happens when you put hope in someone who never truly care about you. Oh no. Let's be real, Trump's policies were never made for Latinos, and they were about division. I'm telling you guys, they were about keeping people apart. And yet, some Latinos believed in supporting him would protect them, but protection never came. Instead, now they feel the same pressure as other minorities. Oh my God. And the biggest regret you hear is this: we thought we would finally be accepted, but instead we are treated the same way as before. Oh no. Even worse, that's a powerful reality check. Understandable, because equality isn't something you earn by voting for one person. Exactly. It's something that has to be fought for by unity and by trust. Oh my God, very understandable. This news is trending because it shows bigger picture, and it's not about Latinos. It's about anyone who thinks standing with power will save them. Exactly. It won't, and that powerful doesn't see you equal. You will always be on your outside looking in. Oh my God, this is very, very understandable. So when I look at this, I see fear, and I also see a chance for change. Maybe now people will think deeper before and giving brand reality. Maybe now they will ask, does this person really respect me, or do they only want my vote? That's the real question. My message is very, very simple as that. Regret is heavy, but I can also be a teacher. And for Latinos in Texas who support Trump, that reason is very, very clear. You can't vote your way into equality when the system doesn't see you as equal. You have to stand together and demand respect and just hope for it. Exactly. And at the end of the day, this story is about identity, about belonging, about facing the truth. Oh my God, this is understandable. And the truth is very clear. No matter what side you pick, If side doesn't see you as equal, then you will always end up hurt. Oh no, confused, and all of us regret. So, these powerful Latino for Trump in Texas are now frozen in fear and regret, and maybe just this moment will open the door for deeper conversation about unity. Very understandable. Respect, real equality. Guys, what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to press subscribe button. See you in the next one. Bye bye.